Yeah, I mean, it's
All right. So yeah, that's your office at home.
yeah, this is my office. I've had a home office for like 10 years now. So
Oh,
I've
I
been
didn't
sort
know
of,
your husband was a painter, and everything behind you is his.
yes, it is. Yes. That's like Lady Liberty and Trump. And that's an abstract, and then it's me, and then that's him.
Wow.
So yeah. So obviously not those drawings, those are more other famous painters that I have just prints, but
Wow. That's
yeah. So how have you been?
oh my goodness. You know, just the roller coaster, up, down, up, down, up, down.
Same. I think my kids are getting loud out there. Just so you know, if you hear things, it's their break from school, from homeschooling.
Who's doing the homeschooling? Is it via computer?
Yeah, there's yeah, if your computer, there's things that they do. Sometimes they have like sessions with everybody, and then but most of the time they're just doing independent, work. Independent but dependent.
Right.
I mean, whatever independent means for their age, but
Right.
yeah. So
So
we're
I should tell people that you are Patricia Reed, that you are the owner of Matriark, which
yes.
is truly one of the best stores in Sag Harbor, which is one of
Thank
the best places on earth. So that means you're like the best of the best.
thank you. We are, we're lucky to be in Sag Harbor. I mean,
Yeah.
what a great
And
town.
the same way that I say that like to call me just a photographer is like doesn't really do it justice. To say that you just own a store doesn't do it justice because you're like the hub of art and creativity and women and feminism and
Thank you.
ideas and like it's so great. I haven't even heard your interview with Diane von Furstenberg, but I really am looking forward to that. Was that fun?
It was fun. Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, I've known her for 10 years now, just because of my previous work and in Brazil. I'm from Brazil. I'm Japanese Brazilian, and I worked with also this real estate company in Brazil that Iguatemi that brings designers from all over the world to Brazil. And so I worked with her to bring her operation and her stores and her business to Brazil 10 years ago.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know
how
that.
I met her. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so we set up her business there, and we bought the collections, and we ran everything about PVF in Brazil. And so I was in touch with her a lot, and her team, and she's impressive. I mean, this is somebody that it's amazing how much she can do and how much she does and continues to do. And even now, like she could just retire and then just live a great life, but she's extremely active, and very, focused on philanthropy. And anyway, it goes on. It could go on and on just about Diane. But yeah, the interview was fun because first of all, it was live, and it's always a little nerve wracking. It's for me, it was a little. But she's so spontaneous, and fun. So that was easy in a way because the subject was easy. She was great.
Yeah. Well, why is live nerve wracking? Because you're afraid of what's going to come out of your mouth.
No, because things. The thing about it is like, is the idea that some things could happen. I don't know, like you could have internet problems. The thing could
Oh,
just turn off, and then there's like you have to go back, and then it makes you more frazzled. Or, yeah, you might have some sort of performance issue, like you lost for words, or a lot of things could happen. Who knows? But at the same time, what I learned is that with these things, because people know it's live, so they know that things could happen. So in a way, you have to relax into it. It's sort of like, oh wow, I'm here.
yeah. I've never had so many pop-ups of live things going on
Yeah,
in my whole life.
yeah,
Like it's just like constant. It's the new
yeah,
media.
yeah. It's the thing. I think it's interesting. It's spontaneous. I think people are looking for more real things too. I think for a long time on Instagram, I'm in fashion, and everything about influencers and how things are very crafted and very, you know, prepared, but they're not real. Instagram, a lot of things you
Yeah.
see on Instagram are not real, you know.
I just got, this is so crazy that you would say that, because so I just got this in the mail, right?
Yeah.
The last issue of Bazaar, and I started to look through at, actually, have you seen it?
Not yet. No.
There is one story in it that I think is really kind of delightful, which is this whole Paulina Porizkova story, because it reminds me of old-fashioned editorial.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like these kinds of pictures.
Yeah.
Where it looks like a story, right? And it's sort of an older woman, younger man story. And I saw her mention it on Instagram and stuff like that. But then I look at a story that's like this, and I'm like, are people going to buy this anymore? I mean, is
don't know. It's $1 billion question.
Like,
you know?
Like, is it? I don't know. I mean, although I have to say,
you know what I think? I think that there is this, I've been talking to so many people about it, including these interviews, and I'm asking creative people and regular people, everybody, where their heads are. And everybody says we're all over the place, right? One minute we're very inspired and we're thinking, I'm going to take this moment and make the best out of it, and I want to appreciate my moment with my kids, and we all have those moments. And then the other days you're like so angry that you have to be home, or it's so angry about, it just goes all over the place. But with those moments, you're looking for different things. So sometimes you need to escape to images like that.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's funny.
I don't know, you need different moments, different needs, you know?
Yeah. Well, and also I was, the last one I was looking at, I actually love those because there's a huge element of nature in them. And
yes,
I am just kind of itching, dying to travel right now. Okay, so, well,
yeah, that's another part, is the escapism.
Like I look at this and I was like, I want to go there.
Yeah,
and
right.
yes, I would totally wear that dress. But then if I were to look at, say, okay, this kind of thing, like, I don't know. To me, that's like unnecessary expense. You know, to get a Louis Vuitton bag means nothing to me. But to go to somewhere crazy, stunningly, naturally beautiful and have some fabulous dress to wear, yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, who knows? I think our moods change, you know, and depending on, and you know, to be fair, like things like that, like this was shot how long ago, you know, this campaign? And
well, at least, right? I mean, the campaign was probably shot 6 months ago. The magazine was probably shot 3 months ago, right? So
yeah, so they had no idea this was coming. And so
I mean, what's going to happen in, what is this, April, March, let's say March, April, May, June. So, oh my gosh, is there even going to be a June issue?
You know what I think is really cool about this process, if there is any cool things that you can get out of this whole nightmare, is that people are now, like the fashion industry is trying to figure things out. And I like that it's all broken into pieces in so many ways, because you know what, we all needed to get out of the treadmill, including the fashion cycles, including the fashion week cycle, including the crazy amount of collections that are being put out there. I just sent out like this email. I'm sending this weekly newsletter from Matriark, and we were talking about sustainability. And the fashion industry produced 114 billion pieces of clothing, I think, last year. Can you even wrap your brain around that number? I mean, 114 billion.
So that's a thing for every other person.
Well, I mean, 114 billion is 30 garments or more per person on this earth.
Oh, wait, you mean, you said billion? Billion garments. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's beyond your comprehension, you know?
Oh.
And so who needs to continue that? Nobody. So you know what? Forget about the schedule. Let's break everything apart and let's just think about other ways to be, because this is completely insane. I mean,
Yeah.
and the truth is that we've been talking about this for a long time in the industry. It's
Yeah.
not new. It's not, but somehow I think it needed this huge thing to happen. But
Mm.
anyway, I feel like this industry of the system that it is of the fashion industry. I mean, every industry has a system. Fashion is not just the only one. The fashion industry is a system where it was built to have a lot of these participants profit in a certain way, which makes sense. However, over the years, it's very imbalanced, and it created this huge overproduction and this huge disconnect from the source of things, and disconnect of who is making things, because the supply chain is so long, and people just forget that a T-shirt, somebody made this thing. It was not just didn't come out. Yeah, it's your crystal.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's one of my favorite things about your store is that you are so connected to the sources and the people who make them. And like, I mean, these crystals were so amazing. Um,
yes, that's from Jess Vidal from Brazil. She's a Brazilian designer, and she personally makes those. Yeah.
yeah. And I love that. I mean, I love that I walked in the store and I was like, I don't know which one I like the most.
I love
I
that.
almost wore both of them today.
That one is special though. That
This
one
one
is
is very special.
yeah, that's
Um,
great.
and I love that. I love I don't know, it's the combination of art and fashion and
Yeah,
maker and creator. And um, for me, that's one of the big things that's rising right now is creativity.
yeah,
What are you going to do when you don't have access to everything the way that
yeah.
you did?
I was asking the same question. I was talking to Piera Ghilardi. She's the founder of Refinery 29, which is this incredible platform. So I had an interview with her a few days ago. She's incredible. She's one of the most creative people I ever met. Really great. So I was asking her about creativity, and it's true that we always say now, like, what's happening now? Like, we're all confined. What's happening to creativity? And what she said is very true. Like, creativity a lot of the times comes out of a lot of adversity. It's not just, I mean, I actually spoke to an art curator a long time ago, Marcelo, and he said to me, because he's from Brazil, and he said, when the economy was really good in Brazil, the art in Brazil sort of sucked. And then the economy got tanked and everybody was suffering. And then all of a sudden you have this amazing art. I mean,
Yeah,
who knows?
because
So maybe we're going to
art
find
thrives when
amazing
people
art
have
now.
something to say.
Yeah, and the struggles. And I think you're forced to, like, I don't know, you express yourself in different ways because you're suffering. I don't know what it is, but definitely there's something to it.
Mm.
And I think now with this, I think we're going to see a lot of interesting things coming out,
Yeah. Well, and it's not only suffering, it's actually appreciation of
all of
at a
it.
more granular, minute sort of level. And um,
And also time to express things maybe in a different way that's not as hurried, because now we have time. If you want to paint something, you do have time to do that, or at least some people do, not all, but
yeah,
um you know
a friend of mine was just today, she posted on Facebook, like, where can I buy watercolors and where can I learn an online watercolor something something. I said, I will hook you up with my dad. My dad will just teach you for an hour. Like,
wow.
my dad would probably be happy to teach this friend of mine in 1 hour, and she would learn more than she could learn in like a month of an online
Oh
class,
wow.
because he's 80 and he's an amazing painter and just like oozes knowledge. And like, but he doesn't even do email. Like, he doesn't know anything about the internet.
Yeah, well, but he could teach, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I
and,
mean,
and when else would that happen? Like, in the rest of his life, he'd probably be too busy. Or
uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting thing about this too, is with Zoom and all of this technology, that A, you have access, but B, you can learn in different ways, and you have access to things.
Yeah. How is it for you? So how old are the kids?
9. Well, she's going to be 9. My daughter Sophie is going to be 9 Saturday, this coming Saturday. Quarantine birthday. That's going to be interesting. And my son is 7. Yeah.
So 9 and 7. So you're not hands-on 100% of the time, which is
No. And they are very close and they play very well. So it's nice because they play independently and we're hands-on. We have to be, but they don't require a lot of handing, here at home, obviously. But yeah, they're good,
yeah. So are you keeping the store running? And I mean, I see that you have a website. So do you have access to everything? Like,
well, the store is there. My merchandise is there. The doors are closed for customers, obviously, but everything in the store is there. I go there all the time. We ship things from the store. We receive some things, it's there. It's exactly the way it was before we closed the door. And I clean and I maintain, all those things.
yeah.
And I think, now that we are almost in May, we need to wrap our brain around reopening eventually, which is like so overwhelming to think about. I mean, I don't know what to think. I've been talking to other retailers in Sag Harbor and we're trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? There is a town's expectations eventually that we will follow, obviously, the government, but then there's also everything that's new about being in the store.
Yeah.
How do you operate? We don't know. So
what was the date of the event that you had with Casey Jennings and the Girl Rising talk, and what was the date of that? Because I feel like we were almost
March,
like, should we be eating food here?
March 9 or something like that.
So early March. Wow.
Early March.
The whole thing is so surreal to me right
and
now.
It was just, I remember it was just at that time. And I remember, like,
because we were like, should we hug or should we not hug?
Yeah, it was maybe March 6th, I don't remember. And then right after that, though, I was like, no more. We can't have any more events or anything. And I closed the store March 16th. So I closed before it was required to close because I felt on edge. There is, naturally that time of the year is when the spring break was happening in private schools in New York City. People were naturally coming. It was a bummer because we were expecting a good season. And so I knew there would be a natural influx of people, but then obviously there was more people coming. And as much as I wanted to be open, I just said, I just can't risk it. So we closed early, but it was the right thing to do. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You don't happen to sell slippers, do you?
I have babooshes.
What
that are amazing.
Really? Are they like, because
they're not like fabric slippers. They are.
Only thing I dress up every day. I put on like nice clothes and jewelry, but my slippers, this is embarrassing. These are from Parachute. Like, I love these things, and I have now worn them to death.
You need the babouche that I just got from Kenza for out. It's called Osei, the company, because they're leather, but it's an indoor and outdoor thing. So you can wear it outdoors as a moccasin or as a babouche too, as a slipper.
Okay.
But it will carry you through spring. So when things are, or summer, so when things are open, you can actually go out with them and have proper shoes.
Well, I have no shortage of shoes. I just have I want the house shoe to be like comfortable. And
yeah, these are great and comfortable, and they are well made. This store is great because it's made in Tunisia, and she only uses scraps of leather and leftover leather from the luxury industry. She does not procure new leather.
Oh, I love that.
So everything that would be wasted and thrown out, she reuses, because apparently there is a big leather industry in Tunisia, and a lot of the luxury companies buy leather there and make leather there. Yeah. So anyway, she uses scraps, and it's beautifully made, but she doesn't really, it's like zero waste.
That's awesome. Do you sort of follow that pattern with most of the things that you put in the store?
Yeah, so then, that's another part of my quarantine thoughts, I mean, when I started Matriark, and it's still the case, the whole idea is that the main filter is that it would be a woman-owned company, right? The main filter to be a nature. Then the second filter, it's a more of a subjective way, because it's my eye, and it's the curating piece, you know. So it's being owned by a woman is not enough, but it has to look a certain way. It has to be beautiful. It has to be well made. It has to have some soul. All of those things, and independently owned brands. So I don't want big public corporations that happen to have a woman founder. That's not the case. So the idea is to send as much money to businesses that are owned by women, right? With the premise that when women have more money, they have more power and they can have more influence. That is the premise of Matriark. But then also recognizing that the fashion industry and the design industry, all of those things already has some built-in privilege, right, within that. It wouldn't be complete without having a philanthropic arm to it. So we also, support philanthropic organizations that are all women focused or girl focused, right? So, but these filters, and obviously the more conscious the brand, the better, the more beautiful, more conscious, more thoughtful, the better. And now with this whole thing with this pandemic and everything that I've been thinking about, I want to bring more and more of really like sustainable brands, like the ones I was just telling you about. She's using scraps of leather. She's not necessarily contributing to the 114 billion garment problem,
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not like there is no perfect company, when we talk about sustainability, it's a tricky word. What is sustainable? Nothing is sustainable. Sustainable is to do nothing, right? It's what we're doing is sort of sustainable. We do nothing. We don't go anywhere. That's sustainable. But that's really, there is no perfect company. But the more layers of consciousness that the company has, and responsibility and thoughtfulness, the more interested I am, given the product is beautiful, and presents certain ways. So I think that I'm zeroing in more and more about how I'm going to curate, and so we'll see. We'll see.
I wish that my friend Katrina still had. So I was doing laundry this morning, and I the more I do laundry, the more I notice that I just have way too many clothes.
Yeah.
But a lot of my favorite things were in the laundry, and I was hanging them all up, and because they're all wool. And my friend Katrina had this beautiful line. She's Norwegian, and Norwegians love to wear layers of wool,
Mm-hmm.
summer or winter, because it keeps you cool in the summer and
Yes.
the winter. And especially when you layer it up, you layer it down.
Yes.
And the wool is more eco-friendly than cotton, even, because it takes so much water and everything else to grow cotton. And
Cotton is terrible, actually.
but one of the things that she noticed, and she told me this ages ago, was that as the Chinese began to get wealthier, they wanted more like suits for business, and like an itty bitty uptick of 1% upward mobility among Chinese people makes the cost of wool, where she wanted it from New Zealand, like really beautiful quality wool, the price of her product would go up, tracking with the Chinese market. And one of the things that I think she said that she didn't like was this idea that she had to keep coming up with new collections. And as I was hanging up my laundry, I was thinking, and that is the problem with the whole thing, because her pieces are so beautiful, so basic, and everything I have that makes me happy right now, because I want it to be comfortable and soft and stretchy and whatever, it's all her stuff, which I bought at a sample sale. I mean, I literally cleaned her out at her sample sale.
Wow.
And then she went out of business because she just couldn't keep up with, the price of real estate in New York and
it's that fashion system I was talking about
the
too.
system of, and it's such a shame. I would love to see her bring it back. Annette actually went to the same sample sale and picked up she picked up a bunch of amazing pieces, and both of us were like, God, this is a real shame. She's closing. Like, please.
It is a real shame. But I also, I was thinking before this whole thing happened, I went to this trade show, and then another friend of mine that's helping me with the store also went to this other trade show, clothing. And I've been looking, and I'm always looking for new brands. Obviously, I'm always looking. And the truth is that, and obviously your friend is doing something amazing, but the truth is that there are too many brands.
Mm,
I mean, when I went to this trade show, I was like, how can these people survive?
mm,
I mean, what? And then I would see one thing, one booth with this clothing, and then I would see the next, and it's the same thing. And it's like, why do two of them exist? It's the same thing. And I mean, I'm not trying to knock it here because I want to encourage people to be entrepreneurs and especially women. But
mm.
at some point, how many people doing this particular T-shirt do we need in the world? You know, like really. I mean, I don't really have the answers for those things, but and I'm not saying that people shouldn't go after their dreams and shouldn't open things, but I mean, how much are you actually adding to the problem or to the solution at the end of the day? You know, like I don't know. I'm like I was really shocked when I saw those things because it wasn't that I didn't know. It's just when you visually see something that it's over and over again the same thing, and then you realize that there are all these little brands and all the same product, all these little brands in just one little sliver of the industry. You know, that's that little trade show, and then you blow that up. There is obviously too many. There's too much offer.
Right. And the same is true for things that go inside your house,
Everything,
interior furniture. Um,
everything. We have it's
I
too
think about
many
that.
things, and it's too much offer for not the many needs. But for some reason, we were in this wheel, and people think they need, and then they discard. You know, it's this whole process. It's not good. So, this is why for me, I'm feeling like, do I want to be part of the problem or the solution? Because I'm a retailer. And so I'm also selling product, right? And so on one hand, obviously I'm helping women, but the other hand, how am I feeding this system? I don't want to feed the system that way. I want to feed it in the good way, meaning like sending resources and supporting businesses that are doing the right thing, but not to create more waste and to create more, it's a real conundrum now that we have to think about, as
Yeah.
retailers. So we're all going to think about it. We're going to have to do something about it.
Well, and I can also I can tell from your store that there is a sort of an artisan approach that you take, which is nothing in your store looks to me like things I'm seeing everywhere else. I mean,
Right.
they're
We try
unusual.
to, what I realize too, and this is a huge thing, it's important too. I always, whenever I have an opportunity, I like to say this. When you go to places, and I feel that also about, in terms of, I'll start by talking about the retailers. So when you look at the retailers out there, all the big stores, and the department stores now are dying. But when you look at them, again, it's the same thing. I go to these places, and it's the same people, the same brands. And then I go to the trade shows, and it's different brands, but too many brands. So I'm like, if you are selling here and the department stores all have other brands but not yours, who are you selling to? Like, where are you? I don't understand. So first of all, there's that. But then also, if you go to one department store, it's like going to all department stores because why bother? They're all the same brands. And then you go online and you go to these big platforms, it's all the same brands.
Right. But you could say that about East Hampton, because I mean that's how I feel about East Hampton, and that's why Sag Harbor is so special. East Hampton
Right.
is every brand that's in Milan, every brand that's in Paris. It's the same brands with the same
And I
stuff.
think with this whole globalization, the luxury market, and I've been doing this for a long time now because before I started Matriark, I was in retail. And it's true, like I never understood, the whole thing about being special is that you're not in every corner all the time with the same merchandise. It's just, you become this factory. But but to me, because I saw that, and as a customer, not only I want to support women, but I also want to see different brands. I was bored with the offer. It's like I mean, I've seen it all already. When you go to one place, you've seen it all. So I wanted to, and in a way, because my mission is to also support smaller business and not big brands, that helps because those smaller brands are not necessarily in those department stores. So And it's easy to find. The thing is, here's the thing, it's easy to find great brands that are small. It's not difficult because of the access of offer that I was talking about.
Mm.
You know, there are more brands that one can choose for all the stores in the world, you know, really. So curating is not the difficult part, even though obviously now with the filters you have to be careful and have to be mindful and thoughtful about the curation process, but it's not difficult to find brands. What's difficult is to maybe educate the consumer that there is value in brands that don't have a big logo that comes from this big corporation that's pushing huge amounts of marketing. And, you know, and for a company like mine that I'm small, you know, I don't have the marketing budgets. I don't have the amount of teams. It's me, you know. The only thing I have going really is the stories of these women and talking about what they're doing, and because they're great stories, you know, and they're great women and they're great products. So that's what I can offer, you know. I'm not going to be offering like huge marketing budgets with these elaborate campaigns and it's elaborate lifestyle shop. That's not what I'm going to offer right now, you know.
But
But
I don't think that what you are doing or attracting is about the things. I think that what you're doing is you're speaking to the strength of women, and that includes the strength of your customer to have an opinion and come from her heart and just say, oh my God, I love that from
Mhm.
inside. Because look, I went through this as a photographer. I remember going to one event in particular, and I remember listening to the people say, oh my God, so-and-so did the flowers. Oh, did you know they did like XYZ celebrities flowers? And I thought, that is what I don't like about this business, that
Right.
people need that kind of social proof thing because they don't even trust themselves to have an opinion. And then I had these other clients who, like, they were billionaires and they didn't care what anyone
Mhm.
did because
Right.
they trusted themselves. And that's what you give people, is you trust your customer to make a choice.
Right.
And you're making a choice and you're making this beautiful edit. And I feel like that's where the whole world is going right now.
Right.
People are starting to trust themselves, and we've been buying
Mhm.
this, you know, I'm going to call it patriarchal system,
Yeah, it
because
is.
that's what it is. Like LVMH owns the world, and boom, it's like one guy. And it's a system of, we're going to tell you what's beautiful, what attracts people. I don't know. I don't even know what they're telling us because I don't buy it. Because
Right.
as soon as I see that, well, for, you know, $5,000, anybody can have that handbag, I'm like, yeah. And that's exactly why I don't want it.
Right. I also think that, you know, having having a point of view is important. You
Oh,
know, I mean, it's not like it's nice. I mean, I take into consideration other people's opinion, obviously, and so do you. I like seeing and having options and whatever, and I want to make my own choice. But I want to make my own choice based on what's better for me because I know myself, and not because some person told me this is great or because some influencer told me that's amazing or because I don't really need that validation, you know. But the truth is that you and I are independent and we're strong. We have our, you know, some people do need that validation, you
yeah.
know, and that's okay. But probably they're not going to be my customers, you know. And I think you need to be able to walk away from those things when you're a business person. You have to say, I can't be all things to all people, you
Yeah.
know. If you're my people, you're going to come in, you're going to understand the concept and appreciate it and love it for what it is and support it. If you hate it, I'm not going to then change my concept so then you can love it because I'm
Right.
not going to then be anything, you know.
I think it's
But
also,
people, but you know what I
it's a
would say,
process.
it is
Like,
a process. It absolutely, and even individually, because I wasn't like this before. I mean, I'm more mature now. Obviously, I
right,
wasn't like this when I was 15. When you're
right.
15, you want to fit in and you want validation, all of those things. But you know, people go different stages, you know, in life.
Yeah.
But I have to say, when I opened the store, so I opened the store last May, and no one knows what Matriark is, right? So I put the sign on the lawn, and it did say that it's, you know, we are here to support women business and whatever. And I cannot tell you, like the first month, everybody they came in, they would say, I came in because I read the sign and I love what you're doing, you know, and I just love the mission. So clearly, you know, that resonates with people, you know, and they came in because of it, not because they were like, oh, I don't understand. They understood and they came because of it. So that gave me more motivation, you know.
I love that.
Okay, so this is a good sign, you know,
Literally.
literally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you know, speaking about the evolution of that having an opinion thing, I noticed it when I lived in Russia was 95 to 97, and so that was the beginning of all of the luxury brands coming to Russia, and
Uh,
it was such a status symbol for people with money that they would, for instance, go to Chanel and just head to toe Chanel. Right?
right.
It was just like the glasses, the blouse, the jacket, the shoes, the trouser, all of it was head to toe one brand. And it was so funny to see that in action because you wouldn't see that today in Russia. You
Right.
like,
It
and meanwhile
evolves.
in
It
America
evolves.
at the same time, you know, Silicon Valley was dressing down. You know, like they
Right.
were doing the opposite of the Russian sort of dress up and make it designer, everything, logo, everything. You know, Americans had already gotten to the place where nobody wants a logo. Like
Right.
most people, I mean, I know so many people that are like, yeah, can I have a polo shirt without the little horse on it, please?
Right.
Nobody wants the logo anymore.
Right.
And that's part of the evolution, because how do you assert that you are, you know, that you choose for yourself if you're just wearing what everybody else is wearing in the
Right.
same combination?
And then there is also, you know, I feel like it's so interesting, the psychology of fashion, but also luxury, you know, and it goes in stages too, because yes, I think once you introduce, you know, I'm from Brazil and I know this from my own experience too, you introduce a luxury brand and there is this thing of, first of all, there is a brand that's recognized. And yes, luxury brands have value in different ways, you know. And having worked with many luxury brands, I see like how they make things and the care that, I mean, it is amazing, you know, that the amount of effort and investment that it goes into making something of quality.
Mm-hmm.
uh, it has a huge value in my opinion, instead of just doing something you're going to discard tomorrow. So with all those things being said, there is a big name attached to it. So if, at first it's this love affair with the brand and what it represents and how you portray yourself and what it means if you wear it and how you're perceived, and logos and names and so and so. And then later, as you get used to having it and it's not novelty anymore necessarily, you start going deeper, you know, you start looking at, again, what is the brand offering other than the logo? Is it because of quality? Is it because of how you feel? Is it the materials? Is it because it's cashmere? Is it because it's whatever? So and then it started the process of getting to really know behind the scenes and understanding why you connect emotionally to that particular product or brand, you know. And either you stay with the brand or you don't stay with the brand. But fashion is finicky though, because some brands are more fashion, some brands are more heritage, and the ones that are fashion, you know, they go and people love it and then all of a sudden they get sick of it and then they go into the next cycle and it's really tricky. But the whole psychology of it, I think it's very interesting, and it's all also filtered by cultural influences, because in Brazil you think some way and in Russia you think another way, and in the US you think of some way. So it's like, you know, I always say that clothing is not about clothing, right? Clothing is
Right.
about people. So when you study clothing and you start looking at behavior, and then you start thinking about more of humanity rather than just fashion, really, that's what it comes down to, you know. That,
And personal expression, like i
yes.
I love that. I love that. I think that we're personal expression is on the rise worldwide. You know.
Yeah. And
And all
you know, look at this, and now we also have ways to do it in a way that it was
uh,
restricted to other people before. Only, you know, nobody had access to things like that. And people now can do an Instagram live at any time, you know, and they have an audience.
right, in their pajamas and still be totally respected.
Yeah, and they have their audience, and people will listen to them, and yeah, they have a voice, you know.
Yeah,
So it's interesting.
I
I
love
mean,
that.
it's also annoying because, you know, it's a lot of noise, you know.
Yes. Well, that's why I think, again, like what you're doing is so special, because you have the curation aspect
Right.
is so, so valuable. You're like the lighthouse or the beacon that sort of points the light in a certain direction. I mean, I do it as a photographer. I point my light in a certain direction and a certain way, and I make you see a thing a certain way, and you're like,
Right.
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I would have missed that. You're saying, look at this because you might have missed this.
Right.
And
And
that's,
also, yeah, and all the noise, again, yeah, the noise, but also the sameness of, the drilling down, the systematic drilling down of the same brands that have access, that have power, that have money to put themselves out there. And today with algorithms, Google, paid advertising, Facebook, all of those things, those brands get in front of you first.
yeah.
They get in front of you first, and all the other brands don't. So in a way, we're trying to mitigate that too by featuring them in different ways. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
tricky.
because there's two kinds of globalization. There's the kind where McDonald's goes into every country and it's the same experience in other places. And I find that so unfortunate. The thing I love about going to Italy and driving is that you go to the little Italian roadside, whatever, and it's a one-off. It's its own thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's unique and it makes you feel like you're in Italy. And it's one of the
yeah,
reasons I love Sag Harbor. You come here, there are only a few places like this in the entire US that I can think of in a big way. Like, Santa Fe is one of them. Asheville is one of them. Palm Springs is one of them, sort of. There are places you go and you feel like you're in a special place.
mhm,
And I miss that. I mean, it makes me sad. I was in Milan. I lived there really briefly before I got married.
mhm.
And then that was 95. And then I didn't go back until, oh my gosh, 2015, maybe.
Wow,
Okay. So that's 20 years. And I
wow.
went back and I wanted to cry.
Mm.
Every other store was just the same stores that are in New York or everywhere. And it was all fashion. I was like, who's even buying this? And the same with Venice. Venice had the same problem. I was like, what happened to all the little guys that sold the really beautiful Venetian paper? But they're
Yeah,
gone.
right.
And that I miss, that's the part of travel that I love, is the discovery, adventure, what's here that isn't anywhere else.
But what ties all those things together, and I always talk about this with my friends. It's culture. That is what you're looking for. It's not a specific thing. It's not a specific food. What you're really looking for is culture. And so I feel like, I'm from Brazil. My grandparents are Japanese. I moved to the US a long time ago, and I love it here because I always joke that when you marry a Japanese with a Brazilian, you get an American because we're right sort of in between, because of the way that they operate in general. I'm talking about stereotypical, but I do think that the US is in between. Brazilians are more loose, the Japanese are more strict, and the Americans are sort of in the
Are
middle.
your parents one of each, Japanese and Brazilian?
No, they're both from Japanese descent.
Both Japanese. Okay.
Yeah. But I was born and raised in Brazil. So obviously my cultural background is mixed that way. But I wasn't either Brazilian in terms of culturally feeling like I feel like really 100% Brazilian, and I'm not 100% Japanese. But when I moved to the US, I thought, oh, I'm American. I didn't know that. How? I thought, because my whole life I was like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm really Japanese. I don't feel like I'm really Brazilian. When I got here, I understood who I am, so I really identify with the American way. So I don't want to knock America because I love it here. And I am an American citizen. My kids are Americans, and my husband is American. But I do feel that even when I moved here in '93, okay, for school, all that stuff. And I was in LA, then I was in San Francisco, and I was Philly and here. But I think there was this sort of cultural deterioration in a way that we became a country that worships money. So money is our culture. So it affects creativity, for example, in such a way. Even fashion now, like the New York Fashion Week, and American designers. What's happening? It's like, and you go to Europe, and you go, in London and Paris, and you have these amazing creations. I think because people are more free to think about things without the commercial consequences, and not. I don't want to be Pollyanna, because obviously we need to think about money, but it doesn't, money is not everything. And I think in Europe they have a much better grasp of that than in US. In US, money is everything in many ways. But what happens to that is that you replace culture with the culture of money. And so what you're talking about is the little bodega in the corner that belongs to the guy that's been there for generations. He is Italian, his mother was Italian, there was an Italian culture attached to this. Okay, great, this is what makes them special. Then you put, and then there's globalization, and you get a luxury brand from France that puts a big flagship in that town. That's not culture.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. I feel like, in parts of me, I feel like globalization is great, obviously, for so many reasons. But this whole thing of, I think we need here in the US, we need to go back to looking into culture and art and expression and things like that more, and value that more than just whether or not those things are going to make money for you. Just appreciate them for what they are without any commercial implications, along with other things that also will make money for practical reasons. The reason why Sag Harbor is so special is because in many ways is that, you have strong culture here. It was a wharf, you had whaling business. It's a strong community. The whole thing about the Main Street people that have been here for generations mixed in with newer people with independent business. This town has culture. It's different than it's not a big open commercial mall.
Well, it also has a commitment to protecting it, which
Absolutely.
It is. What do you call it? It's systematized against the big chains. So you're not allowed to come here if you're a big chain. You're not allowed to have a store here if you're a big chain.
I'm very concerned, I have to say, I'll be honest, because right now, I don't know what's going to happen to Main Street, to be honest. I haven't, and I don't know because I haven't talked about this. And I don't know how many businesses here will stay or not. Who knows who can withstand this whole thing with paying rent and no business? Yeah. I don't know who has the bandwidth to keep open in this sort of environment. And if this summer is not good, it only takes one bad summer for people to close.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then what's going to happen? I hope that this town doesn't become this whole thing, like all these big brands. Then we're going to be like East Hampton, and then it's going to be all this homogenous thing.
Well, if that happens, I am moving to Portugal. Full stop. Like, no question about it.
That's funny. No, because truly that's what makes us special, is this whole, to have this character and mixing with all these independent brands that you don't find anywhere else. And that's fine. East Hampton has its place, and that's great, but then if we're going to be the same, what's the point?
Right.
There's no point in being the same. So I think I'm worried about that long term, like not even long term, like short term, like after September, we're going to know, depending on how our summer goes. But
yeah. Well, I don't know if this is an indication of anything, but in the past 3 days, I've posted 3 different little pictures on my Instagram, and 3 different people have come asking if they could buy pictures.
Wow, that
has never happened before for me. So I don't know if that's people just being really lovely and generous towards artists, or I don't know. And one of those people is not even from this country. So I don't know what that is.
That's interesting though.
But I believe in energy exchange. So like what I'm putting out, I have also purchased 3 pieces of art in the past.
There you go. Yeah.
So maybe it's an exchange of, like, it's me putting out to the universe that what I want is to support artists, to have more art in my life, to have a little gallery. I mean, that's a whole other conversation right there, because
Yeah.
you know, I've had this URL for years of the Perspectiva Gallery, because it was all about a woman's point of view
Hmm.
in the world.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who is an artist was like, oh, I hate that. I hate being lumped with like women, you know, women artists. And I was like, what's wrong with that? I like it. I don't know. I sort of took it personally that she didn't like it, so I didn't do anything with it.
Right.
But I don't know. The more I think about it, the more it makes me happy. The idea of supporting women artists,
Yeah.
period, full stop. And um,
Why wouldn't you like to be within women artists?
um, I don't know. It's sort of like, are you an actor or an actress? Are you a stewardess or a flight attendant? It's like, it's a label. It's a label of separateness,
Mm.
which frankly doesn't bother me. I mean, I went to a girls' grammar school and a women's college, and I should be way more of a radical feminist than I am, but I'm not. I just believe in amplifying voices that, you know, either we don't speak up for ourselves, or there's no one out there saying, oh, I am specifically looking for women to amplify. It's happening more.
Yeah, I think the idea, I always thought about this too, like when people say, well, it's like, I don't want to be called female artist, I want to be called artist. Well, that's fair enough, but the thing is that most artists that have platforms are male.
Right.
And so, by you blending in with that, that's fine. Conceptually, I completely get it. Conceptually.
Yeah.
But also in the real world, you're probably saying that it's okay to have this patriarchal system, that you want to blend into that you just want to blend into that system so you can just quietly go into being an artist. My personal take sometimes.
Hmm.
And it's like, and then again, not judging, but I also feel like, and there's nothing wrong in also being both, and to say sometimes, yes, I'm together, but sometimes I'm part of this group. What's wrong with that? Why can't people chew gum and walk at the same time? I don't get it. It's not that hard, but but I get it. I would support you in ways in any ways I could, if you're going to do um, you know, a gallery with women artists. I think it's great. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
you know what I noticed? As soon as the idea came into my head, I went down into my little room where Sydney does the workout stuff.
Yeah.
I already have it. Like my
Oh, there.
whole wall is a collection of women artists plus Peter Lindbergh.
Yeah.
um, which, like, sometimes I just tear pages out of books and frame them and put them on the walls, because
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
only if I have two copies of the book. But yeah.
You can go in many different directions. Is however, I think I always feel like you have to do what feels really fulfilling to you, and that's when things will work.
Yeah.
You don't have to fit into any mold of what it means to be
Yeah.
anything. You can just make up your own rules.
Yeah. I mean, somebody could have a gallery just dedicated to the ocean, right? So why can't I have a gallery just dedicated?
Whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's your gallery.
It's my gallery. It's my gallery. I'll do what I want.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why not?
I think if any place is going to make it in this country, it's going to be this place, because there's so much wealth here, and love of the arts, and love of culture.
Yeah, we're very lucky I feel like, this is every day. I just moved from New York City 2 years ago. And I have all my friends with little kids in their apartments in New York City, and I feel so much for them. But
No.
every day I can get out and walk here, and it's like, I can't even believe it really when I get out. And in terms of, just our town, yeah, it's a summer town. So people are here anyway. I think I'm hopeful that this is going to be, that people are going to continue to gather eventually in with social distance and trying to navigate this whole thing, and the shops will be open again, restaurants, all those things, and you can see life, around. I'm hoping it's going to be a little tricky, and we'll see what happens to Main Street. And I'm there, and I'm going to do the best I can. We're trying to get
And
ready
the
now.
club, what about I love the Matriarch Club was just getting started. I love that so much of
Yeah. And
gathering.
I still want to, for me, even if we don't gather face to face too much, I think we can do a lot of this, that we can continue. And I paused it now, obviously, because we can't gather in person, but I also, because so much of my time has been dedicated to just getting my website off the ground, and just getting traffic to the website means to put out a lot of different kinds of work. So my energy has not been into that. But whenever we're back, especially in the fall, because summer it's going to be a whole different animal. But in the fall, I think we can do things, and conversations that we were having before, inviting guests, can be done via Zoom, can be done via live, and we can do that. It's fine for members.
I was also thinking that your little hill, because you have the Victorian up on the hill and then you have the little
Yeah.
grass. I was like, that would be a perfect place to put a little movie screen and have outdoor cinema and a little cinema paradiso.
We'll see how that works, because it's we have to see the town's rules.
Yeah, I think other people tried and got shut down.
Yeah, this is different times, though. This is crazy times, I mean, everybody's going to try to do something, but we'll see. I mean, I'm going to talk to these retailers too, the store owners. We are on Zoom calls too, every other week, just to say hello. And
oh, good. Is it like a chamber of commerce, you mean?
No, I mean, it's just people I know. Like, we're just trying to get together, and the chamber. No, I haven't heard from the chamber, but it's just people we know, and we're trying to see, just coffee, just like discussions. How's it going? Just
that would be actually great. That would be amazing to have, like a virtual fundraiser to keep Main Street alive.
Yeah, I mean, anything that will be. I think now, I know the mayor is really actively looking now into putting things in place. She's
when
really,
we can open.
She's like gathering, calling on volunteers for task forces and all kinds of things. So I know that there's work being done. And of course, we have to wait for a governor, all this stuff. But I think in terms of that, I think it will be taken care of. And we're actively talking to them. But I think it's more, I just wanted to get the pulse of also people like me, how are they feeling? Like, are you going to stay open? What are you going to do? What are you thinking? Because it feels, obviously we're all physically isolated, and even before that, we were so busy that we don't have time to be talking to all these business owners. We're just there selling stuff, and we're in the thick of things.
Right.
So now that we do have a little time, I felt like we should talk and touch base. So it's been good, though, to know, like, it feels good, because you're not alone. You're all in the same boat, and hopefully we can help each other pull through, shop owners, restaurant owners, all that stuff. We'll see.
It's a lot. I mean, at least the restaurants are doing a little bit of, takeout and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, in all fairness too, like, as much as obviously I would like to be open and in healthy ways and selling and keeping the business alive, but at the same time, I think the added pressure of being exposed, it's a tough situation to be in, when you're there in the thick of this, and you're serving food and you're doing all this, but you're exposing yourself, I mean, that's stressful in its own, and then you have to worry about the business operation. I mean, in a way, I am relieved that I'm closed in that sense, because it's very stressful. But anyway, we'll see. And for you, like, you've been okay. Like, yeah, I know you've been actively here, and you've been doing a lot of thinking about what you want to do. And
I just, at the beginning, I was more stressed out at the beginning, because I thought, how am I going to get through the next few months? Just financially. I thought, well, what do I have to do? Okay, so I'm going to just pay minimums on credit cards. No, I'm not buying anything except for those 3 pieces of art and
Right.
groceries, and that's kind of it. And alcohol. Oh my God. Well, then we stopped that too because I was like, this has to stop. Like we've had more alcohol in the past month than I think we normally have in 6.
Well, yeah, alcohol sales, that's a business that's thriving. That's
Right? I know,
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So I guess I decided it had to be a time of letting go, and that I needed to get way more into the present, because every time I was thinking about the future, I would just lose it and freak out and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like, oh my God, what am I going to do 6 months from now? I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do 6 months. So that's why I started doing different things. Like
Mhm.
I'm never on the other side of the camera. So now for a solid month, I've been on the other
I
side.
love that. I love that you're doing that.
Yeah. So for me, I just took it, for me, it was like, okay, challenge time. What are we going to do that's different? Because this time is different.
Yeah.
And then, and I have had a bunch of art sales of my own, which is super exciting to me. So I'm like, oh, maybe I want to do more of that. And, you know,
Yeah.
I've been taking a branding class. I've been in uh, I have a well, it's sort of a online workshop for building this art website that I never quite get around. I suck with online classes. I actually
Yeah.
like one-on-one interaction way more.
Interesting.
So if someone would just hold my hand and get me through a thing, I can do it. But self-directed stuff is not really working for me right now.
It takes, I mean, normal day it takes a lot of focus, but then now it's like, who has any focus anymore? I mean, I'm a very focused person. I'm a very focused person, and I'm all over the place. And I didn't think I was going to be, because I've been doing home office for 10 years. I thought, I got this. This is okay. You know?
I've always worked at home, but I have to say, having these conversations is also really grounding for me. Just to have a conversation with one person about like what your world is right now. That's way more helpful for me
Yeah.
than scrolling the internet, looking at Facebook, seeing like what 10,000 other people are doing. I don't care. I don't want to know. That's too much for me.
Right.
So yeah, I just like to keep it pretty simple, and thank God I get to go walk for an hour if I want to with the dogs.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. I don't go to this, I don't go to the beach anymore. Probably could today because it's so cruddy out, but
Yeah, I happen to have maybe 4 blocks from here. I have this little bay beach, and it's usually empty. So when it's empty, obviously we go. The weekends we don't even go anymore because it's more people. But if we go, we just assess to see how many people are there. But usually there's very little people, so it's great. And they can go with the kids and they can play in the sand, and it's fantastic. It's really great. But yeah, we have Sag Harbor, you know.
I have to say, it's been above and beyond, like of all the places you could be stuck.
Oh, please. It's like this is
When the music stops and we all have to sit in our chairs, this is a really good chair.
absolutely. And I think we're going to see probably a lot of influx of people to be here permanently, probably, after.
Yes.
I would think. I mean, I would assume.
I would.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy we moved here. We moved here just in time. We'll see what happens, but I mean, I just hope to see some of our friends in person, having to have this conversation. Like, I mean, I think it's going to be so weird to go back. I wonder how long it's going to take for us to actually do our normal things, and to be
like even just to hug a stranger, right?
Anything, like, or just being in a crowded space, restaurants or anything. It's going to be
airplanes.
Although
Think about
human beings, though, I have to say, we have this tendency of like, when we're in it, it's just all very dramatic, and then like after this, like in general, after a while, we forget. So we'll see.
Well, I think the people that are having birthdays in the pandemic won't forget. But I also think it's going to turn out to be like a special thing. Like only a few people were going to have had that experience of.
No, for sure. I don't think we'll forget this experience, but I'm saying, like, I think we'll sort of let go of the neurosis of not being able to hug. And,
Yeah.
I think eventually we'll go back to being our normal selves. But no one is going to forget this. I mean, this is going to stay. I keep thinking like what the impact is going to be with my kids. She's 9 and he's 7, but I think maybe the 9-year-old will have more memory of that. But, we're trying to make it very normal for them, and we tell the truth. We don't lie about the situation in an age appropriate way, But yeah, I don't know what she's going to be remembering when she's older. It's going to be interesting to
Well,
see.
it's a very different. You remember 9/11? Were you in LA then?
I was in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, because that was such a different feeling of. I mean, we all did pretty much go home and stay inside for a couple days anyway. But and
Hmm.
I'm going to say for 6 months, nobody had a dinner party, nobody laughed, no, like all the
Yeah.
events I was shooting were canceled completely. Like nobody wanted to connect, and it was it was much heavier and sadder, I thought. So there at least there's a calm to this, which is okay compared to what that was. Like
Mhm.
I'd be suffering more if I were thinking about, um, this was a terrorist attack, which we're we don't know that it wasn't, but it's different.
I think that, yeah, I think everybody gets impacted differently, but for sure, yeah, it's a whole different story. And this is like first time, for us, for our generation. So we don't even know how to behave or how to, I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, and I also don't even know I'm processing it because we're so busy. I think whatever it is, that maybe the impact's going to be later. I'm sort of just observing right now, but I'm not drawing any conclusions because I think what it's going to hit me a little later. I'm too busy trying to like mitigate things and trying to get my kids and this and that. And then when things sort of go back to a normal, I'd probably be like, holy crap,
I was under so much
what
stress.
just happened? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
I'll let you go. Oh, look at that. We're just hitting 111 minutes. Yay.
go. Magic number.
Magic minutes. Well, it was awesome to
Thanks,
see
Tanya.
you.
Nice to
And
see you. Let me
great
know what's
talk.
going on with your gallery thoughts, and we'll be in touch.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I'll be ready in 6 months. Being such a high speed person that I am.
All right, Tanya. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good birthday party this weekend, too.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.